gate for the sheep. Everyone who came before me was a thief or a robber, and the sheep did not listen to any of them. I am the gate. All who come in through me will be saved. Through me they will come and go and find pasture. A thief comes only to rob, kill, and destroy. I came so that everyone would have life and have it in its fullest. I am the good shepherd, and the good shepherd gives up his life for his sheep. Hired workers are not like the shepherd. They don't own the sheep, and when they see a wolf coming, they run off and leave the sheep. Then the wolf attacks and scatters the flock. Hired workers run away because they don't care about the sheep. I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and they know me. Just as the Father knows me, I know the Father, and I give up my life for my sheep. I have other sheep that are not in this sheep pen. I must bring them together too when they hear my voice. Then there will be one flock of sheep and one shepherd. The Father loves me because I give up my life so that I may receive it back again. No one takes my life from me. I give it up willingly. I have the power to give it up and the power to receive it back again, just as my Father commanded me to do.
The Jews took sides because of what Jesus had told them. Many of them said,
"He has a demon in him. He is crazy. Why listen to him?"
But others said,
"How could anyone with a demon in him say these things? No one like that could give sight to a blind person."
That winter Jesus was in Jerusalem for the temple festival. One day he was walking in that part of the temple known as Solomon's Porch. And the people gathered all around him. They said,
"How long are you going to keep us guessing? If you are the Messiah, tell us plainly."
Jesus answered,
I have told you, and you refuse to believe me. The things I do by my Father's authority show who I am. But since you are not my sheep, you don't believe me. My sheep know my voice, and I know them. They follow me, and I give them eternal life so that they will never be lost. No one can snatch them out of my hand. My Father gave them to me, and he is greater than all others. No one can snatch them from his hands, and I am one with the Father.
Once again the Jewish leaders picked up stones in order to kill Jesus. But he said,
I have shown you many good things that my Father sent me to do. Which one are you going to stone me for?
They answered,
"We are not stoning you because of any good thing you did. We are stoning you because you did a terrible thing. You are just a man, and here you are claiming to be God."
Jesus replied,
In your scriptures, doesn't God say, you are gods? The scriptures cannot be destroyed, and God spoke to those people and called them gods. So why do you accuse me of a terrible sin for saying that I am the Son of God? After all, it is the Father who prepared me for this work. He is also the one who sent me into the world. If I don't do as my Father does, you should not believe me. But if I do what my Father does, you should believe because of that, even if you don't have faith in me. Then you will know for certain that the Father is one with me, and I am one with the Father.
Again they wanted to arrest Jesus, but he escaped and crossed the Jordan to the place where John had earlier been baptizing. While Jesus was there, many people came to him. They were saying,
John didn't work any miracles, but everything he said about Jesus is true.
A lot of those people also put their faith in Jesus. John 11. A man by the name of Lazarus was sick in the village of Bethany. He had 2 sisters, Mary and Martha. This was the same Mary who later poured perfume on the Lord's head and wiped his feet with her hair. The sisters sent a message to the Lord and told him that his good friend Lazarus was sick. When Jesus heard this, he said,
His sickness won't end in death. It will bring glory to God and his Son.
Jesus loved Martha and her sister and brother, but he stayed where he was for 2 more days. Then he said to his disciples,
"Now, we'll go back to Judea."
"Teacher,"
they said,
"the people there want to stone you to death. Why do you want to go back?"
Jesus answered,
"Aren't there 12 hours in each day? If you walk during the day, you will have light from the sun, and you won't stumble. But if you walk during the night, you will stumble, because there isn't any light inside you."
Then he told them,
"Our friend Lazarus is asleep, and I am going there to wake him up."
They replied,
"Lord, if he is asleep, he will get better."
Jesus really meant that Lazarus was dead, but they thought he was talking only about sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly,
"Lazarus is dead. I am glad that I wasn't there, because now you will have a chance to put your faith in me. Let's go to him."
Thomas, whose nickname was Twin, said to the other disciples,
"Come on, let's go so we can die with him."
When Jesus got to Bethany, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Bethany was only about 2 miles from Jerusalem, and many people had come from the city to comfort Martha and Mary because their brother had died. When Martha heard that Jesus had arrived, she went out to meet him, but Mary stayed in the house. Martha said to Jesus,
"Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. Yet even now I know that God will do anything you ask."
Jesus told her,
"Your brother will live again."
Martha answered,
"I know that he will be raised to life on the last day, when all the dead are raised."
Jesus then said,
"I am the one who raises the dead to life. Everyone who has faith in me will live, even if they die. And everyone who lives because of faith in me will never die. Do you believe this?"
"Yes, Lord,"
she replied.
"I believe that you are Christ, the Son of God. You are the one we hoped would come into the world."
After Martha said this, she went and privately said to her sister Mary,
"The teacher is here, and he wants to see you."
As soon as Mary heard this, she got up and went out to Jesus. He was still outside the village where Martha had gone to meet him. Many people had come to comfort Mary, and when they saw her quickly leave the house, they thought she was going out to the tomb to cry, so they followed her. Mary went to where Jesus was. Then as soon as she saw him, she kneeled at his feet and said,
"Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died."
When Jesus saw that Mary and the people with her were crying, he was terribly upset and asked,
"Where have you put his body?"
They replied,
"Lord, come and you will see."
Jesus started crying, and the people said,
"See how much he loved Lazarus?"
Some of them said,
"He gives sight to the blind. Why couldn't he have kept Lazarus from dying?"
Jesus was still terribly upset. So he went to the tomb, which was a cave with a stone rolled against the entrance. Then he told the people to roll the stone away. But Martha said,
"Lord, you know that Lazarus has been dead 4 days, and there will be a bad smell."
Jesus replied,
"Didn't I tell you that if you had faith, you would see the glory of God?"
After the stone had been rolled aside, Jesus looked up toward heaven and prayed,
"Father, I thank you for answering my prayer. I know that you always answer my prayers, but I said this so that the people here would believe that you sent me."
When Jesus had finished praying, he shouted,
"Lazarus, come out!"
The man who had been dead came out. His hands and feet were wrapped with strips of burial cloth, and a cloth covered his face. Jesus then told the people,
"Untie him and let him go."
Many of the people who had come to visit Mary saw the things that Jesus did, and they put their faith in him. Others went to the Pharisees and told what Jesus had done. Then the chief priests and the Pharisees called the council together and said,
"What should we do? This man is working a lot of miracles.
If we don't stop him now, everyone will put their faith in him. Then the Romans will come and destroy our temple and our nation."
One of the council members was Caiaphas, who was also high priest that year. He spoke up and said,
"You people don't have any sense at all. Don't you know it is better for one person to die for the people than for the whole nation to be destroyed?"
Caiaphas did not say this on his own. As high priest that year, he was prophesying that Jesus would die for the nation. Yet Jesus would not die just for the Jewish nation. He would die to bring together all of God's scattered people. From that day on, the council started making plans to put Jesus to death. Because of this plot against him, Jesus stopped going around in public. He went to the town of Ephraim, which was near the desert, and he stayed there with his disciples. It was almost time for Passover. Many of the Jewish people who lived out in the country had come to Jerusalem to get themselves ready for the festival. They looked around for Jesus. Then, when they were in the temple, they asked each other,
"You don't think he will come here for Passover, do you?"
The chief priests and the Pharisees told the people to let them know if any of them saw Jesus. That is how they hoped to arrest him. John 12. 6 days before Passover, Jesus went back to Bethany, where he had raised Lazarus from death. A meal had been prepared for Jesus. Martha was doing the serving, and Lazarus himself was there. Mary took a very expensive bottle of perfume and poured it on Jesus' feet. She wiped them with her hair, and the sweet smell of the perfume filled the house. A disciple named Judas Iscariot was there. He was the one who was going to betray Jesus. And he asked,
"Why wasn't this perfume sold for 300 silver coins and the money given to the poor?"
Judas did not really care about the poor. He asked this because he carried the money bag and sometimes would steal from it. Jesus replied,
"Leave her alone. She has kept this perfume for the day of my burial. You will always have the poor with you, but you won't always have me."
A lot of people came when they heard that Jesus was there. They also wanted to see Lazarus, because Jesus had raised him from death. So the chief priests made plans to kill Lazarus. He was the reason that many of the Jewish people were turning from them and putting their faith in Jesus. The next day, a large crowd was in Jerusalem for Passover. When they heard that Jesus was coming for the festival, they took palm branches and went out to greet him. They shouted,
"Hooray! God bless the one who comes in the name of the Lord! God bless the King of Israel!"
Jesus found a donkey and rode on it, just as the scriptures say.
"People of Jerusalem, don't be afraid. Your king is now coming, and he is riding on a donkey."
At first, Jesus' disciples did not understand. But after he had been given his glory, they remembered all this. Everything had happened exactly as the scriptures said it would. A crowd had come to meet Jesus because they had seen him call Lazarus out of the tomb. They kept talking about him and this miracle. But the Pharisees said to each other,
"There is nothing that can be done. Everyone in the world is following Jesus."
Some Greeks had gone to Jerusalem to worship during Passover. Philip from Bethsaida in Galilee was there too. So they went to him and said,
"Sir, we would like to meet Jesus."
Philip told Andrew. Then the two of them went to Jesus and told him. Jesus said,
"The time has come for the Son of Man to be given his glory. I tell you for certain that a grain of wheat that falls on the ground will never be more than 1 grain unless it dies. But if it dies, it will produce lots of wheat. If you love your life, you will lose it.